Greetings. Elder Blacklight. We're going to chill with young Pharaoh. We're going to chill from talking about young Pharaoh for a minute because boys will be boys and men will be men. So young blood, you don't know, man, if you lose your the real warriors, the white man ain't gonna respect you. Because he know that your people don't want you mingling with them no more. The real ones. The fake ones, yeah, they gonna be just like you. The fake ones are gonna follow you. But the real ones, they gonna despise you, brother. And I don't care how much display you show of martial arts or whatever. The Caucasian, he don't care nothing about that. He know he can't trust you, man. You ain't loyal to your people. You're a traitor to your people. And he know this. He don't like traitors. White men respect warriors that have some integrity about themselves. You ain't got no integrity. You talk good, but you don't have none. So now if any of your so-called followers tune in to some real knowledge, we're talking about the King Alfred plan. And this is what you need to know because we're in critical times. The white man had a clock saying it's 2 or 3 seconds before midnight. Seconds. What do you mean by seconds? I don't know. I don't know how close that is. But it ain't God's time. His time, the white man's time was up. I think the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in 1914 when they went to that Federal Reserve, when they signed that bill into action, Federal Reserve Bill. And we're going to analyze this. I want y'all to look at this. Some of y'all might not have ever heard of King Alfred Plan Rex 84. But this is martial law. This is what's taking place right now. So we're going to get into it. Now this going to take over maybe 2 or 3 videos. 2 or 3 videos. So we're going to call this one Analyzing the King Alfred Plan. Part 1.
Good point. Let's run down what we're going to be talking about tonight.
In a general sense, here's what we're going to be talking about. The first of the programs that we did on terror, and it should be said that with tonight's broadcast, as with the others, there will be strong areas of bleed over, so to speak, and that's an appropriate term given the deadly instincts of the people we're talking about. There will be a strong amount of bleed over from the various lines of demarcation that we have set out for the programs. Although the first part of our series was on the drug connections, the next 3 on the terror connections. In fact, the drug and terror connections are inseparable. We're distinguishing between them primarily for conceptual purposes because the working capital from the narcotics traffic engaged in by the members of our intelligence community, whom the Christic Institute have termed the secret team, has provided the working capital for the various machinations and skullduggery, which will occupy a large part of has occupied most of our attention in the 3 parts we've dealt with on terror. Now, in the second program, Radio Free America number 30, the first of our programs about terror, we talked about the Triple Wilson team. We've talked about them perhaps ad nauseum for some of our listeners. We've been focusing on them for years, and we've been focusing on them because not only are they one of the prime movers in American national security policy, but specifically the main focus, the main stock and trade of the Triple Wilson team has been the exportation of terror. Many of the terrorist groups and elements that have been invaded against so heavily by the Reagan administration have in fact been actively armed and trained and at times protected by this very administration. The scenario that we've introduced very often, and it will come home in a very big way this evening, is that of the Reichstag fire. Basically provocation, setting up an incident in order to discredit one's enemy and to serve, first of all, as a pretext for the restriction of civil liberties here at home and military adventurism abroad. One might take a look at our growing naval presence in the Persian Gulf to attest to how effective a policy that can be when properly executed. Now, the second, we left off with the Turple Wilson team in Radio Free America number 30. In our last program, Radio Free America number 31, we began focusing on the systematic use of terror as a strategic instrument by the elements of the secret team. We focused on what appears to have been a destabilization of the Carter regime almost from the very beginning. The Carter administration made a number of changes which were not pleasing to various members of the secret team. They withdrew their financial support from the mullahs in Iran. Previously, the CIA had paid $400 million annual subsidy to the religious leaders in Iran to keep them off of the Shah's back. Members of the secret team were heavily involved with the security for the Shah. In addition, one of the people looming large in the background, namely Henry Kissinger, and his scion, in a sense, his financial scion, David Rockefeller, were very much involved with the Shah's economic situation. The Shah banked his enormous oil profits with Chase Manhattan Bank. We took a look at such things as the apparent deep-sixing of the hostage. First of all, actually, we took a look, first of all, at what appeared to have been attempts to get the hostage crisis into effect in the first place. The bad advice given Jimmy Carter by David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger to bring the Shah to the country in the first place. It was well known that this would produce the hostage crisis. We then took a look at attempts, apparently successful attempts, to sabotage the attempt to rescue the hostages in April of 1980. We then took a look at a deal cut to avoid what the Reagan team, or an apparent deal, I should say, cut to avoid what the Reagan team viewed as a possible October surprise, namely some sort of stratagem by Jimmy Carter in October of 1980 which would have gotten the hostages freed and thereby assured his re-election. It appears that members of the secret team, which were to move on into the Reagan administration, committed treason and deliberately negotiated with America's enemies in order to sabotage the political fortunes of the Carter administration.
Now we're going to cut it off right there. And we're going to kind of brief some of you young cats who don't know what King Alfred plan is. If you pay attention to current events, if you pay attention to what's happening now with Iran, this was some activity that was taking place, maybe 4 or 5 decades ago. And the Shah was the Shah of Iran, the hostage situation. Study up on that, the Oliver North, the Iran-Contra affair. Study up on that so you could come up to speed on what we're talking about. But this is also going to be talking about South America, Nicaragua, how they moving on now, and how they got holding centers, right now for so-called illegal aliens. And Trump wanted to put up a wall. See, they got a script they got to go by. And they give it to the president, whoever the president is, could be Obama. He got to go by that script. They say this is the phase that we are in now. They might modify it a little bit, change the name, change the wording of it, But they say this is the phase that we are in now. And we want you to implement this phase, this plan, this phase of the plan into your term. If you do a good job, you're going to get some benefits. You're going to reap some benefits for yourself. And we might keep you, in your in the office or your position for a minute. See, young Pharaoh and them, they don't talk like this, to y'all. They talk on an elementary level, on a kindergarten level. See, the Caucasian is very organized, very sophisticated in his methodology. We are unorganized because we trapped up into the television, into foolishness, sport and play, getting high, being sex fiends. It's not our fault, this is the program that they programmed us in. So we're going to continue this and saying that the key word is black unity. It's the key. And we got to build on black power. We got to have young scientists, young engineers, young physicians, health-wise. With this coronavirus outbreak, where are all our holistic health advisors and practitioners? Where they at? See, they're not organized. They need to organize with each other. We need an army of health-minded people. Sugar and sugar, salt and salt. If you yet not to dig on this, it's not my fault. Stay tuned up for part 2.